The latest in the sentencing phase of the Boston Marathon bombing trial. Today, the defense focusing in on blaming Johar Tsarnaev's brother Tamerlan, calling him the mastermind behind the attacks. The defense's strategy to show the Tamerlan's power and influence over his little brother. Meanwhile, the prosecution trying to bring the focus back on the convicted bomber. Our Jim Armstrong is live outside of the federal courthouse tonight with more on today's testimony. Jim?
Well, David, the defense really just brought up so many pieces of evidence about Tamerlan Tsarnaev that one of the prosecutors actually stood up at one point and said, "Your Honor, I give up," because he kept objecting to things that the judge was allowing into evidence. The prosecutors clearly want to see this case focus more on Johar Tsarnaev than on his older brother.
You'd be forgiven for thinking it was Tamerlan Tsarnaev who was on trial this week rather than his younger brother. The older Tsarnaev's computer records scrutinized again at length today, with Johar's defense team showing the jury how it was Tamerlan, not their client, who downloaded and shared the majority of the anti-Western and pro-jihadi materials that would later be found on both brothers' computers. Also in Tamerlan's computer, bizarre images like an unnamed toddler holding a large rifle apparently taken with Tamerlan's camera phone. And this photo of Tamerlan having grown his beard and changed his style of dress, likely around 2012, and holding a weapon. Tamerlan's wife, Catherine, also under the spotlight. A computer with her name on it showed searches in January 2012 for, quote, rewards for wife of Mujahideen, or holy fighter, and, quote, if your husband becomes a shaheed, a martyr, what are the rewards for you?
Yeah, his demeanor changed over time.
Tamerlan was also a fairly successful boxer, and several men who knew and worked with him also took the stand.
In the beginning, he was an asset. He was a fantastic boxer. He worked with a lot of our mixed martial artists and worked to help them improve their boxing skills. Those traits changed over time.
Tamerlan, this jury learned, grew his beard and changed how he dressed the more and more he turned to his Islamic faith. When it came time to cross-examine those witnesses, the government largely asked them all the same thing. Did you know Tamerlan's younger brother, Johar? The answer was almost always no, and the prosecutors had no further questions.
The last witness on the stand late this afternoon was actually the son of the Tsarnaev's landlady on Norfolk Street in Cambridge. He testified how about a decade ago, the entire family, he said, was just full of optimism, looking forward to the future, anxious and excited to be in America. He said just a few years after that, to a person, they had all become disgruntled and anxious and depressed. The defense thinks that's an important mitigating factor this jury needs to know about in their attempt to explain Johar Tsarnaev's behavior. Live outside federal court, Jim Armstrong, WBZ News. David.
Jim, thank you. And of course, we cover all the developments of the marathon trial. Jim Armstrong live tweeting from the courtroom during the sentencing phase of the case. Follow him at Jim Armstrong, WBZ.